One of the biggest problems that independent and DIY musicians face right now is simply just not knowing how to get paid for what they do. Musicians have a skill that is valuable, but many musicians out there are failing to figure out, how do I actually turn this skill and this value that I have into some revenue, some income, into a living. So maybe you could go part-time with your job that you're at right now because the other time you're doing music-related things, or maybe even go full-time into the music realm. But the only way that we can get there is if we truly understand, how do we start to earn some money? And so what I wanted to do in this video is give you 3 fast, and when I say fast, I don't mean, let me clarify, I don't mean you're going to walk outside and be like that girl in Parks and Recreation who's the sister of John Ralphio and just go, money please, and then people are just going to give you $1,000. That's not what I'm about to share with you. But I am going to show you, in my opinion, the fastest routes that many musicians can start to take to get that first $1,000 or the next $1,000 faster than any other route they could waste their time on. So let's jump into this video. Stay locked in because I'm going to be sharing with you exactly how to solve this problem of not getting paid for what you do. Okay, so the first method that I want to jump into, it does have some prerequisites, so that's why I'm going to cover it first, because I know some people are going to be like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And I want to share with you how you actually maybe could. So the first avenue that you need to take if you want to get your next $1,000 quickly in your music business is shows. Now, I know instantly people just went, oh, I don't know if I can do shows. My situation is unique. I can't do shows. I don't have a band, etc., etc. Let's pump the brakes for a second. Let's really break this down. There are only really 2 prerequisites to being a live performer as a musician. One, you have to be able to perform your music, which I would hope is everyone who's watching this. Because if you're a producer, you're pretty much, in that context of a show, you're kind of like a DJ. But if you're performing it, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that other side of it, but I'm just giving you the options. But if you're a performer, you're a singer, you're a guitar player, a piano player, etc., you just have to be able to perform your piece, your music, right? And then on top of that, the next prerequisite that you need is guts. I know some people are like, what? Here's what I mean by that. Shout out to the giant pink cup, by the way. So what I mean by guts is many musicians think, oh man, I can't perform live because, I need a band and, what I do really requires a band. Let's pump the brakes here. Most of the time, it's not that what we do requires those things, but we have an idealized version of what we want to look like in the best context while we're on stage. And if we can't get it to that ideal version, sometimes we just sit on our hands and say, oh, well, I can't have the fog machine. I don't have the band yet. And I just can't make it work because it wouldn't look how I wanted it to look in my head. Well, perfect is the enemy of the good. So you shouldn't ever sit there and say, if I can't do the ideal version of something, I therefore shouldn't do it. What you should do is like, okay, how could I implement this? So for example, if you're just a singer and you program everything else in your music, well, great. You're probably going to be in a situation, ideally in the future of your career, where you're commanding a stage by yourself. What a better time than to do it right now? What a better time than to put the music behind you, take out your vocals, and basically go karaoke your own music in front of people and learn how to work an audience in the early stages, because that's what you're ultimately going to be working towards, right? So why not start getting good at it now and get paid for doing it? Now, some people may say things like, oh, well, I'm a guitar player, Dax. I don't have a singer. Well, you could basically make the whole entire band your backing track, and you could be the guitar player up front doing it. And some people are like, well, that makes me feel uncomfortable. Well, yeah. Let me tell you something. If you start to actually overcome this fear, because I've done it before, I know what it's like to stand in front of people by yourself with a guitar. It's just you, or it's just you and the piano. It's a little nerve-wracking at first, right? But once you do it a few times, you start to build a muscle to it, a callus almost, you could say. And what happens is you learn very quickly that performing by yourself is probably one of the more difficult things to do, but you get through it just as quickly as if you played with a group of people. The only difference is with a group of people, we have this like safety and security net where it's like, well, maybe other people will make mistakes, or if I make a mistake, they'll be focused on all the other people. Like think about solo performers like a guitar player like Tommy Emmanuel, which is going to be coming to our state here soon. I'm excited to potentially go see him. He stands on stage by himself in a guitar. And so the only thing coming through that PA is his voice through the mic sometimes when he sings. He doesn't always sing. Or just the mic on his guitar. That's it. How more naked and exposed could you be as a musician than in that particular situation? Now, I know some people are like, Dax, you're not selling it. I'm feeling anxious. Here's what I'm saying. There are configurations that you can go out there and start performing if you're able to perform your music, right? And if you have the guts to say, I know it's not going to be comfortable, but I'm going to go out and do it anyway. Now, let me skip ahead now because I know some people are like, Dax, I've got the guts. I want to go play on stage, or I have a band. Tell me how I can start to make that money. So let me share. Okay, I'm going to tell you. Don't yell at me in the comments. So the next step, you're at the show, right? Now, before the show, you even got to the gig, hopefully you set up some terms when you started to book the show. So let's look at those terms. You either got a guarantee or a door split. Now, a guarantee just simply means, hey, whether I'm Evel Knievel, I get paid for the attempt, okay? So come hell or high water, I'm getting a guarantee of $300, right? Or you're saying, well, I can't really guarantee how many people are going to show up tonight because I've never played this venue before, so I know it's safer for the venue to do a door split. Let's do a door split. Now, some people kind of scoff their heads at door splits. I'll give you a quick story. Here in Oklahoma City, I had a venue refuse to pay me a $300 guarantee. So instead, they ended up having to pay us $1,000 out of the door split. So, guess the door split's not all that bad if you can actually bring people. Oh, so hey, maybe somebody's birthday needs to be at your show. Or, there's an event that somebody's coming from. They need the after party to go to, and that needs to be your show. I don't know. But if you got a door split and you got a way to funnel in a big crowd of people for whatever reason, because when you're starting out, I know you're not going to have like a ton of people that are just coming to see you for your music. So it's like, it might be a profitable thing to do just to get that first chunk of $1,000. So now you can go into the studio and you can start putting out more music and you can start doing those kind of things, right? So first things first, you either going to straight up guarantee, I'm going to get like $300 bare minimum, or you can work to get $300 from the door split, right? But the whole thing there is if you're going to do the door split, you better work your butt off in the marketing up to this show to get people there and give people a reason to come. Create a spectacle. I don't care what it is. Tell them at one point you're going to do a magic trick where you pull a bunny rabbit out of the guitar case. I don't know. Just give them a reason to come see you, right? Hey, it's blah, blah, blah's birthday. Have the after party here, whatever. We've had that happen and it worked out great for the door sales. We actually had so much left over that we just gave money to the bands that weren't going to get paid because we were like, hey, you guys did great tonight. Here, take some of this. Here's $200. And just like started giving out money because when you win and you had a bunch of people that helped you make a win, you want to help them out too. So it was just a really great night. But that comes from, bringing people. But what if, okay, I got the guarantee or the door split, whatever that configuration is. Now the next step is your merchandise. And again, I know people are like, but Dax, I don't have merchandise to sell right now. It's okay. First thing I would say is I look at everything like an investment. Okay, especially, well, not everything. If it's not an investment, I don't look at it like an investment. But when I'm investing in merchandise, I'm looking at it from the perspective like, okay, how much can I get these shirts for? So we have someone in our local area that we could get shirts for roughly $10, and they're good quality t-shirts. So we can get them at cost for $10. So what we did is we ordered 20 of them. So it cost us $200, right? Some of you may be like, I don't have $200. And some people might not like that I'm recommending this. But if you have a gig scheduled where you're going to be selling this and you're actually working to get people there, it can make sense to get a credit card or something and just go get the shirt so that you could sell them at the show. I know some people are like, Dax, how could you recommend that? I'm like, because if you're going to be there and you're going to have people that are going to buy that, you don't need very many sales to break even first and foremost and just get back to ground level. And it's really not that many sales to help aid you in that additional pursuit of getting to that $1,000, right? So let's assume you got $300 from the door splitter guarantee, right? You want to sell $300 worth of merchandise or $400 worth of merchandise. So what does that look like? Let's say you did what I recommended. You got some t-shirts, you got a good enough design. But Dax, I only have a black t-shirt with the white. Good enough. If that's as good as you can get it, it's as good as you can get it. Well, what should I charge for this t-shirt? Okay. Hopefully you've got, like, even if it is black and white, it's a cool design. If you can do that, bare minimum, because if you're just going to put a logo, you can sell those and they will go, but it will take a little bit longer in my experience. But I think you should charge $30. And some people may freak out at those prices, but it is what it is. I was actually on tour with the headlining act and we were selling our t-shirts for $25. And they were like, listen, you need to up your prices. I'm like, why? They're like, first of all, you're worth more than that. Second, you're undercutting us. And we're trying to make money just like you guys are, because this wasn't like a huge headliner. They were like, listen, we depend on merch sales just like you do. And so if you're undercutting us on price, that hurts. So we need you to match our price. So if we're selling t-shirts for 30, we need you to sell them for $30. We're like, okay, that's fair enough. We've never changed the price. And that was back in 2016. We have not changed the $30 price point since then. And people have had zero resistance buying it. With all due respect, the only time I've ever gotten resistance on a $30 price point is like a kid who just got money from their parents to go get some like Coca-Cola at the concession stand, comes over and it's like, do you have any shirts for $15? I'm like, dude, some of these t-shirts cost like $13. This is before we had the hookup, right? So it's like, no, we can't do that. I'm sorry. But charge $30, bare minimum. You're worth it. People will pay it. They are happy to get it. Some people I've seen that are like, I don't know if anybody would pay $20 for my t-shirt. Yes, they would. And they would pay it happy. And they would pay it happily and then want to take a picture with you and be smiling holding it. That's what people will be like if you give them a good show, right? So you need 10 sales at $30 t-shirts to get $300, right? Now, if you look at it, okay, I've got $300 in revenue from the door split / guarantee. I've got $300, maybe $400 if you sell 3 more shirts, right? Of merchandise revenue. How can I help get that extra bump to 1,000 if you don't get it from those two already? Well, if you're working with a brand new venue, right, and you want to make some good impressions, and you can actually bring a decent amount of people, and a decent amount of people could be like 15 people. You understand, right? Go like, what's your worst night? They're probably going to say like a Tuesday, right? Tuesday is my worst night. I don't get very much. Okay, well, how much do you sell in alcohol on those days? Oh, I may sell like $1,500 or something worth of it. It's like, okay, well, how about you host me on that same Tuesday, and then I'll help bring some people in there. And so up to $1,500, I don't want any percent of the royalty, or I don't want any percent of the bar, but everything after you meet your quota of $1,500, everything after that, then, why don't we split it 50%? People would be very happy to take that deal because you're taking their worst night and giving them a bump, because they're not, if they sell food, there's going to be, bumps on the food, and you can always, hey, who's got a drink in their hand? If you don't have a drink in your hand, go to your bartender right now, get something real quick. I want you to be a part of this toast that's going to happen right now. Right? That's a great tip I got from Marshall Silver about how do you get, people in the audience involved in the show by going to the bar and participating by buying drinks for everybody. Little do you know, you're making a percentage off that. And so if you combine those 3 revenue streams in a show, if you do it well, you can get on the low side close to $1,000. On a really good night, you will exceed 1,000 by 1.5-fold, 2-fold, 3-fold, just kind of depends on the circumstance and how big of a crowd you're playing in front of. So we've had nights where we're in front of 1,500 people and you can have multiple 4-figure nights. It's really, really cool. You can be in front of 8 people and walk away from that room with $800, $500 in merch sales. We've had it happen a few times. Like, these avenues people resist because of the uncomfortability of like getting in front of a stage and talking to people and doing all that kind of stuff. But if you get over that, you have the courage to go out there, and even if you're by yourself, solo perform, or if you're with a band, awesome. And you can perform your stuff. You got it down. You've rehearsed it. There's going to be some great opportunities to get some quicker income as a musician, because you can go call up a bar right now. If you meet all these prerequisites and you're ready to rock and roll with a show, you could call up a venue right now, start negotiating the next show, and start getting your ball rolling on this, right? Now, the second way we can get to 1,000 in revenue is, let's look at your email list, okay? So you may think, Dax, I've only got like 15 people on my email list, 50 people on my email list, 100 people on my email list. There's not that many people there, right? Well, let's take a look at this for a second. First of all, don't even think about that for a second. Think about an offer. Much like what you would do at a merch table, I've talked about that in different videos, but you could create a merchandise bundle that you sell through your email list, right? So if you're going to do that, you need to first of all come up with an offer. What am I going to combine? Am I going to do this all print by demand, which will have more cost associated with it, but I don't have to do anything? Or I could, just put the money up front to get the product and then sell it through this. Depends on what you want to do, right? But find an offer and then find out what the net profit is going to be on that offer. So let's figure the math here. Let's assume your net is $50. Net just means the money left over after all your expenses are paid, right? How many buyers do you need at a $50 net to reach $1,000? You need about 20 people, right? Or 20 people exactly, actually. So when you look at that, okay, 20 people. Well, maybe you've got 15 people in your email list. And you're like, Dax, I don't even have 20 people in my email list. Well, first of all, you can do things to create content that starts to build a relationship with people so that they're like, oh, I really like this person. And they want to join your email list. And so here's what most people do. And I provide tools like this to my clients because sometimes it just helps to see averages, because averages get you thinking about the right things. But then once you get into the thick of it, you start playing with the real world chaos and see how things actually work. And sometimes it works out better than you planned. I'll give you an example. So 20 buyers at $50, that's $1,000. So we have to think to ourselves, okay, well, if I've got 1,000 people in my email list and I get a conversion rate or an open rate of 10%, and then we start doing the averages and we get down to like, well, if 1% of this number takes my offer, then that's going to be 20 buyers, right? We can do that math, and that helps us get thinking about the right things. But let me show you a real world example. I have a client named John. He has 74 people on his email list. Actually, I think he's close to like 80 or something now. But when he launched the offer, he had 74 people on his email list. And he got 17, 18 sales within about a week of launching his first merch bundle. So think about that for a second. And it was funny because he was actually in pounds because he's in the UK. So it was converted, and it ended up being like $1,500 USD. But it was $1,000, 1,000 pounds, British pounds, from selling some hoodies or a hoodie and a t-shirt and some cool bonuses, right? Very, very simple stuff. 20 buyers, 74 people. Think about that. That's a little under, what is that, a third of the entire list? Right there? Almost a little under a third of the list. Wow. The conversion rates, people are happy if we can get 5% conversion rates, 10% conversion rates. This is a dang near 30% conversion rate of your list. So people misunderstand, they get too locked up in averages because in most businesses, they are kind of relying on averages. But as a musician, you build one-on-one connections with people through your music. And if you structure your email list right, you can deepen that rapport through emails that you send them before you send them the offer, which I really recommend. I've talked about it in other videos. You can go check those out if you want to learn more about it. But fundamentally, what you're doing is you're going out there, and instead of thinking, I need to go get 1,000 people, and then hopefully 1% of the 1% of the 1% take the, whatever, and then that'll be my goal. Think, okay, well, I need 20 buyers. How do I go build 20 relationships on social media? Thinking like that is going to change the game, because now you're not so number focused that you forget the human in the process. If you understand that, like, okay, I need 50 people to buy a $50, an item that once it's all paid for, I make $50. Then instead of focusing on getting, 10,000 people or whatever, and then working on the law of averages, let me work on the law of building a connection with my fan base. Like, let me build the connection outright. And then once that connection is built, now I can present the offer to them. And if they don't get a sale, I go back to the drawing board and try to build a better connection with my content, a better connection potentially with my DMs, and then we get them in the email list and we try again. and you keep going and you're looking for, instead of law of averages, how do I just find the 20 people that are going to buy and nurture them through the content by replying to their comments, replying to their messages, and maybe DMing them myself, all these different kind of things. And then the email structure will send it to where eventually they'll get the offer and you'll know if they bought or not. And so that I've seen musicians get $1,000 in a week, 2 weeks from doing these launches with a very concentrated list. It doesn't have to be a huge list. So it's really about the strength of the connection that you build, which is why content is so important. But that's the second route that you can use. Now, let's talk about the third and final route that I've got time for here today, which is a premium offer. So what's a premium offer? As a musician, you have probably multiple skills that people would pay for. Sometimes, maybe some of you are great producers. Because of the DIY circumstance that you find yourself in, you've had to learn to produce on your own, and so maybe you're a really good producer, and other people could pay you money to produce their song or their EP. Well, what are the price tags on those kind of jobs? You can make $1,000 from one client. In fact, I've had a handful of clients that have been producers, and they've gotten $2,500 from one client, $4,000 from one client, $3,000 from one client. So that's hitting the $1,000 month, $1,000 goal 3 times over, and you can almost do it monthly. So that's the beautiful thing about a premium offer. If you have something like offering guitar lessons or piano lessons or drum lessons or vocal lessons, any kind of instruction, that can be worth $1,000 in one purchase. But here's the thing, most musicians that do that kind of work are used to per hour rate. Like, okay, you just pay me $50 after the lesson's over. Heck no. I'm getting paid ahead of time, and I'm going to have you book a month at a time, and it's going to be on a recurring billing so that you can save your spot in my calendar. And I know you're going to be here every week, and every month I'm going to be making a bulk payment from you, right? And so if I can get 10, 20 of my clients to do that, now you're not just making $1,000, but you can start to get to the point where you're making $1,000 a month with as little as like 11 students. So when it comes down to it, a premium value offer is probably the fastest way to get to $1,000 as a musician. Some musicians just don't feel like they have skills that are that valuable. No one would ever pay me $1,000. Well, you'll notice there's a chain of, or there's a pattern of thinking here that happens with defeatist musicians. I can't do that. I can't play shows because I don't have a band. I can't do email. My email, no one's going to open up my email. Oh, I can't do premium offers. I don't have skill. You got to get rid of that limiting belief. You got to get rid of that limiting mindset that says you can't do these things. Because I've seen musicians go from like, I don't know if I could do that, to making $2,500. Like, it's a pretty nice little feeling for them for like, oh my gosh, not only am I worth it, but I'm worth like thousands of dollars. Look at that. And it's like, who would have thunk it that in this world that we live in, where we exchange value using currency, that people would find musicians valuable enough to give them thousands of dollars? Ooh, strange thought. But if you listen to all the negative people that are on threads talking about Spotify and how musicians are this kind of like second-class citizen because Spotify doesn't pay them the royalty amounts that they're deserved, if you believed all that, then you wouldn't think this stuff is possible. But I see it every day. Like, that's one of the benefits of doing what I do, is I actually get to see, like, people were like, Dax, I appreciate your optimism because you're very optimistic. I'm like, guys, I can be very pessimistic. It just depends on where the facts lie. Like, I'm not a totally empirical and objective person. I obviously have my own biases. But the idea that like, oh, Dax, you're just really optimistic about the situation. Let me tell you, if I had never seen any musicians make any relatively good amounts of money, 4 figures, 5 figures, in any meaningful amount of time, I probably wouldn't be so optimistic about it. I'd probably be telling you different strategies. It's probably what I would be communicating on my channel. But because I've seen it firsthand over and over and over again, now I have an unshakable belief that you're worth money. Hey, if you feel bad any day, just know that Daxton Page thinks you're worth thousands of dollars. Like, I do, because I've seen people pay musicians thousands of dollars. And guess what? I wouldn't have paid that musician thousands of dollars, but guess what? I didn't need the transformation and the result that their skill provided the client who did want to pay that to them. So you may think to yourself, I would never pay someone $1,000 for guitar lessons or for producing or for any whatever. But guess what? I guarantee you, if there was something of value to you, you would pay $1,000 for it. If someone came up to you and said, hey, musician that plays guitar or piano, we have to cut your hand off unless you can give us $1,000. Do you think it would be worth $1,000 to guarantee that you get your hand back? Yeah, because some things are worth the money, right? So that's the thing. People think, oh, I just don't know if someone would ever spend that on me. That's projection. That's not reality. My band, when we were doing our very first VIP, my band was like, Dax, you're crazy. No one would ever pay this amount of money for us. We're not that big. And I'm like, guys, we have super fans. They want to pay us this money. They just have no opportunity to do so. And they're like, Dax, we disagree. We disagree. They're not going to pay $70 for a VIP ticket. And I'm like, look at all they get. He's like, yeah, but we're not that big. We're not that big. And everyone's kind of getting all about it. So I was like, okay, we'll do it for $65. We had 7 people take it on the first time we did it. And then we bumped the price up to $70. And we had 4 people take it. So, I mean, like, people think they're not worth money until they offer things. And then, like, if you really want to put this into, like, supercharged overdrive, right? Go to a show, do well, make $1,000, collect the emails of people at the show, sell them a different bundle through the email sequence, and then after they're done getting pitched the email sequence, maybe you sell them a premium value offer through the email. Oh, boom, you just got to use all 3 of them in a cycle that maybe takes like a few weeks for them to complete the whole thing, or maybe a couple weeks to complete the whole email sequence. So they go from show, maximum potent connection with the artist, maybe buys a t-shirt, then they get into the email list where they learn more about the artist, go deeper in connection, get pitched something that's also like relatively low ticket, $40, $50, $60. I've seen people pay $80 for bundles with a smile on their face. Like John, I mentioned him. He was selling an $81. It was 60 pounds, 81 USD with the conversion and stuff, right? Like, I just want you to know you're valuable. And if you use these 3 things in sequence together, you got a little powerful combination there, because now you're getting 3 bats at 3 different offers, right? Hey, did I do good at the show enough to sell the t-shirts and stuff in person and get their email address? Yes, I did it. Did I build enough connection in the stories to get them to buy the second offer? Yes, I did it. Can I now set up a new series of stories that builds up to this offer that gets them a premium value offer? And guess what? If you have a $1,000 offer, how many people do you need to take the offer to get $1,000? You need 1 person. Okay? So if you look at this strategy, in my opinion, these are the avenues that will get you to your first $1,000 as a musician the fastest, without worrying about Spotify, and with the most economical options available. So I hope you got some value from this video. If you learned some crazy cool stuff today, hit the subscribe button, the like button, notification bell, all that good YouTube-y stuff. And if you'd like some help implementing these systems inside of your music business that get the email, build that rapport, sell something, and actually do it effectively and get the kind of results that, John's gotten, or some of my other clients like Will and Alan and Ross and tons of others have gotten, hit me up in the description. There's a link in there where we can do a one-on-one call for free just to see if I could actually help you out in your music business. So if that's something you're interested in, click the link in the description. And otherwise, I look forward to seeing you on another video inside of Musicians Ignite. Take care.